Are Class 4 shingles worth it in Colorado? So most Colorado homeowners are told by someone to upgrade to Class 4 impact resistant shingles, but very few actually understand what they're paying for and whether it's really worth it. I get asked this question a lot, and the short answer is just yes. Okay, so for most homeowners up here in Colorado, yes. But here's what generally people don't tell you is that not all Class 4 shingles are the same. I've been doing this for over 15 years, and I've inspected thousands of roofs, before and even after Colorado hailstorms have come through an area. And I've been genuinely disappointed and actually pretty frustrated by Class 4 shingles that didn't even come close to doing what the manufacturers claimed and how the products were being promoted by contractors. So this video isn't just gonna be a yes, buy Class 4 shingles. It's really gonna be about which Class 4 shingles actually perform in real Colorado hailstorms, which ones don't, what the upgrade to Class 4 shingles actually costs, and where code requires it, or whether you want it or not. And at the end, I'll tell you the situations where I'd actually tell you not to bother with the upgrade, because there are a couple situations like that. So I'm Patrick with WestPro Home Exteriors in Longmont, Colorado. We are a GAF Master Elite Roofing Contractor. That's a designation that's held by fewer than 2% of roofing contractors in the country. I'm not just saying that to try to brag about my roofing guyness. I'm telling you because this matters, right, for some of the warranty conversations we're gonna have later in this video. So for full roof replacement cost context, I'll put a link to our Colorado roof replacement cost guide. That's in the description. That's a separate video you can also check out. Okay, so let's get into it, what the Class 4 rating actually means. First, what does Class 4 actually mean? Okay, so the rating comes from a test called UL2218, and the way it works is they drop a steel ball onto a shingle from a specific height, and then they flip that shingle over and they look at the back. If the back of the shingle shows any cracking, tearing, or fracturing, then it fails the test. And if it doesn't, it passes. So it's just a pass-fail situation. Class 4 is the highest level of that test, and that means a 2-inch steel ball is dropped from 20 feet and then it passes the test. Class 3 is a 1.75-inch steel ball from 17 feet. Class 1 and 2 aren't really a thing in my experience. Why not all Class 4 shingles perform the same? So this is something I wish somebody had told me earlier in my career, or that I just learned sooner and faster. It's that the Class 4 test just established like a super basic baseline. It's not a worthless test, I'm not gonna say that, but passing that test and then actually holding up to real Colorado hail, those are two totally different things. I know this firsthand. I've installed a lot of Class 4 shingles over the years in this area, like I think thousands at this point. And then a hailstorm comes through and it tests all those shingles. And I was just not always impressed. And the products that I had confidently recommended to homeowners, customers that I cared about, they didn't perform the way that the manufacturers had led me to believe they would. That's very, very frustrating because I'm staking my reputation on the quality of that product too. And because I've been making those claims on behalf of the manufacturers to my customers, I've been endorsing the product. That was frustrating and embarrassing, and I started paying attention to why some Class 4 shingles hold up and others really don't. And here's what I found. The first thing is that there's kind of a design issue with the test itself, right? The steel ball gets dropped onto a single shingle that's laying flat, and that's not how shingles are installed. The shingles overlap each other in courses, right? And even normal roof. And where they overlap, you get those small steps and voids and little vulnerable areas, okay? Running all the way across your roof. And there's hundreds of them, thousands of them. And in real hailstorms, those are exactly the spots where the damage kind of concentrates. And that's where, when hail hits that area, it exploits that vulnerability. And that's even the case on Class 4 shingles. So the question isn't just whether a shingle passed the UL test, right? The question is how the shingle is built and how that affects performance at those overlap points, at those vulnerable points, because that's what helps it survive, real Colorado hail. SBS-modified shingle versus woven mat Class 4 shingle. The real difference. So manufacturers get their shingles to become Class 4 in one of two ways. So the first way is with the woven mat, right? So they usually take a shingle that they already make and then they laminate an extra layer, usually fiberglass or polymer mat, to the back of the shingle. And you can see it, they lift it up on the underside, okay? And it's usually white. Some manufacturers is black, but it adds stiffness and helps the shingle certainly pass that steel ball drop test. But in my experience, shingles that rely on this method alone, they don't perform much better than just a standard shingle, when it comes to holding up to a real Colorado hail. So that vulnerable overlap we talked about, those areas, they just don't perform much better. So the second way is SBS modification. So SBS stands for styrene butadiene styrene. Don't worry, we're just gonna call it SBS. It's basically synthetic rubber and it gets blended into that asphalt of the shingle during manufacturing. So what it does, it makes the shingle more flexible, right? And so instead of cracking on impact, it tends to absorb and flex. And in my experience, I've inspected a lot of roofs after a lot of hailstorms in Colorado, and the SBS modified shingles perform meaningfully better in real hail conditions. And it's especially the case in those little overlap points, right? In those little vulnerable areas that I mentioned earlier. So the SBS modified shingles, they do cost about 10 to 20% more than their woven mat, counterparts using that manufacturing. And in this category, that difference is real, right? It's certainly a case where you do get what you pay for. The SBS modified Class 4 products currently available in the Colorado market include Owens Corning Duration Flex, Certainty Northgate, and GF ArmorShield 2. And I'm gonna give you my honest take on each of them in a few minutes, including the ones I no longer install and why. Let's talk cost. What does the Class 4 upgrade actually cost on a Colorado home? So on an average 2,000 square foot home that has roughly 2,500 square feet of actual roof area, we would call that as roofers 25 roofing squares, upgrading from a standard architectural, basic laminate shingle to a quality SBS modified Class 4 shingle runs about $2,300 to $3,100. On a small home, that's closer to $1,700 to $2,200, and on a larger home, $3,200 to $3,900. Now here's something that's important for homeowners to know. That upgrade cost is for the shingle and ridge cap only. The tear off, the underlayment, the flashing, the pipe jacks, the permit costs, none of that changes. You're just paying more for a better shingle. And everything else on the bid is basically the same. Even the installation labor is gonna be, basically the same. That brings me to something that I do think you should watch out for. If you're getting bids and one contractor is quoting you a Class 4 upgrade at $800 to $1,200 and you have an average size home, that might feel like a pretty good deal, but I would be careful. I would ask them specifically, hey, what is your standard shingle that you're starting from? And then what is the Class 4 product that you're actually upgrading to? And get both of those product names, because a low upgrade cost usually means one of two things. Either their standard shingle is priced higher, making the difference or the delta look smaller, or they're upgrading you to a cheaper Class 4 product that does carry the same rating, but not necessarily the performance. And every contractor will tell you that their product is the best and they install the best shingles and they only use the best. But the product name itself is the only thing that lets you actually check that for yourself. Here's the per square foot and per roofing square breakdown so you can evaluate any bid. We'll start with standard GAF Timberline Natural Shadow. We're gonna consider that our basic roof. It's about $6.01 per square foot. This is based on some data that we've pulled. So $601 per roofing square, and that translates to $15,030 total on an average home, okay? When we look at entry-level Class 4, and that's the woven mat products we talked about, it's about $6.92 to $7.04 per square foot, $692 to $704 per roofing square, and around $17,300 to $17,600 total. So upgrade over standard is about $2,300 to $2,600. For SBS modified Class 4 products like GF ArmorShield or Owens Corning Duration Flex, that's about $7.05 to $7.25 per square foot. It's $705 a square or $7 to $725 a square. It's around $17,600 to $18,100 total, and that upgrade is about $2,600 to $3,100. So we can see that there's differences when we start at the same place. So the premium SBS products like Certainty Northgate, they come in a little bit higher, $7.36 to $7.56 based on some data we looked at per square foot, $18,400 to $18,900 total for those more kind of premium Class 4 products, or at least they're priced at that premium point. So these should be giving you some bearings and some reference point when you're evaluating bids in the real world if you're looking to get your roof replaced. Here's where Class 4 shingles are actually required by code in Colorado. This is something a lot of homeowners and honestly some contractors don't fully know. Class 4 shingles are required by code, right, in certain Colorado municipalities. It's not optional, it is required if you're replacing your roof. So right now the city's confirmed, at this point when we film this video, that require Class 4 for residential roof replacement are Fort Collins, Lafayette, Loveland, and unincorporated Boulder County, right? So not City of Boulder. So unincorporated Boulder County is not the City of Boulder itself. Those are two different building departments. If you're in one of those cities and a contractor is bidding, you a standard shingle, they're either not aware of the local code or they're not telling you about it. So either way, you could end up, with a roof that doesn't actually pass inspection, or you find out that it's not going to pass inspection, mid-project, which is also terrible. That's just not a position that you want to be in, certainly not a position we would ever want a homeowner to be in. So here's something else worth knowing. These requirements do change. It's actually pretty common for a city to adopt Class 4 requirements. We've seen it in the year following a major hailstorm, okay? So they'll adopt it within 12 to 24 months of there being a big storm in that area. So a big storm hits, the city gets a lot of heat about it, and then they update the code. So a city that doesn't require Class 4 today might require it by the time you replace your roof again. Now, a good licensed, experienced contractor knows this information, but we recommend always verifying the current requirement with your local building department before you sign a roofing contract. There's handout sheets and code information online, or you can call the friendly folks down at your local building department. Insurance discounts with Class 4 shingles and deductible avoidance. Let's talk about the financial side of this decision, because I think most people, they kind of think about it the wrong way. The first thing people hear about Class 4 shingles is insurance premium discounts. And yes, that's real. So carriers like State Farm, in our experience, Farmers, Allstate even, for a while, USAA, they will offer discounts for homes with Class 4 shingles. That's certainly been a thing, but that discount market is changing all the time. So what insurance carrier offers today, they might be different next year. So my advice is pretty simple. Before you finalize your roofing contract, when you're getting a new roof, it's worth a call to your insurance agent and ask them directly, hey, do you offer a premium discount for Class 4 impact resistant shingles? And what documentation do I need to get that discount? Don't just make your product decision for your roof based on a number someone quoted you secondhand. Verify that information. But when we're talking about the potential savings of Class 4 shingles, like the premium discount isn't the primary conversation that I actually have most often when I'm sitting at a kitchen table, with a family in Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, right here in our backyard in Longmont. The conversation I have most often is about deductibles. So wind and hail deductibles in Colorado are commonly $3,000 to $5,000 right now. And they're going up. I mean, I've seen $7,500 deductibles, pretty frequently, and even on average or modest sized homes. So think about it this way. You spend $2,900 to upgrade to a quality Class 4 shingle. The next summer, a hailstorm comes through. If your Class 4 roof holds up, right, compared to your neighbors who just got the standard shingles last time, your neighbor has to come up with $5,000 out of their pocket to cover their deductible, and you didn't. And the upgrade paid for itself in those situations in just one storm. And so I've sat, at a lot of kitchen tables in Colorado having this exact same conversation. And what I hear from homeowners who have actually, been through, one or two hail seasons in 5 years, it isn't, hey, I want the premium discount. What they actually say is, I don't want to have to go through this again next year. I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to hire another roofer, and I certainly don't want to pay another $5,000 deductible. So I think that's really the real case for Class 4 shingles in Colorado. And that's based on having these conversations hundreds, maybe even thousands of times. So here's how to spot a bad Class 4 shingle quote or estimate. Before I move on, let me just give you a quick checklist. So if you're comparing roofing bids and something just kind of feels off on the Class 4 upgrade, here's just a checklist of what to watch for. 1, the upgrade cost is $800 to $1,200, and let's say you have an average home. That basically almost always means that it's probably a cheaper product, or it's a higher baseline shingle price, or probably both. A quality SBS-modified Class 4 upgrade should run $2,300 to $3,100. You should at least be in this range if that's what you're trying to get. Item number 2, there's no product name listed on the quote. So any contractor quoting Class 4 shingles without naming the specific product is giving you incomplete information. Ask for the name on both the standard shingle and the Class 4 option. If they won't tell you, that's your answer right there. If they say all Class 4 shingles are the same, they are not. The rating certifies, a basic test result. It does not certify real-world performance in Colorado hail. SBS modified and woven mat products both carry the Class 4 rating. They do not perform the same way. Last item on the checklist is the contractor can't explain how their Class 4 shingle achieves the rating. Is it SBS modified or is it woven mat backing? Any contractor who regularly installs Class 4 shingles should be able to answer that. And from my perspective, they should have some opinions as well. If they can't answer that question, they probably aren't making a deliberate product choice. and that matters for your decision. Here are my honest product grades for different Class 4 shingles. All right, so here's where I'm gonna say some things that other contractors might not, and other contractors might not agree. I have installed, inspected, and dealt with warranty claims across multiple Class 4 shingle manufacturers over my career, and I certainly have opinions. These are gonna be my honest opinions based on real experience. They're not sponsored, they're not influenced by manufacturer relationships. It's just what I've seen. First is Owens Corning Duration Flex. As a grade, I'm gonna give it a B. It is SBS modified. It has pretty good field performance. My issue with Owens Corning is just warranty responsiveness. When I've needed them to step up for a customer, their process has been pretty limited and a little lackluster. The product itself, this particular shingle, is solid, but I think the company's support needs a little bit of work on the warranty side. Next up is Certainteed Northgate, okay? This is also a B, is the rating I'm gonna give it. It is SBS modified and it shows real promise on hail performance. My issue with Certainteed products in general is specifically the wind resistance. I've just seen it blow off in wind events and that's a problem. And then their warranty responsiveness, again, has been limited at best. And so on hail performance, really, really solid. On wind resistance with Certainteed products in general, I just can't give it a higher grade than that. Next is probably the most popular Class 4 shingle installed in Colorado. This is Owens Corning Duration Storm. And in the same tier, I'm gonna put Certainteed Landmark IR. They also have a product called Climate Flex, but this is a D product in my book. It's entry-level Class 4. They're using the woven mat approach, and I've just been genuinely unimpressed with their performance in real Colorado hailstorms. On top of that, I've experienced poor warranty responsiveness. So if a contractor is offering you one of these as your Class 4 upgrade, I would ask more questions. Yes, I've installed the product. I've installed hundreds of them. I felt like I was let down. I let down my customers. So I just can't, based on my experience, give it a better grade than that. Next, we have GF ArmorShield 2. So this is my A. I'm giving it an A grade. It is SBS modified, has proven performance in real Colorado hail events, and GF's warranty process is the best that I've dealt with. And I'll explain that more in a minute. This is the shingle that I install, so full transparency. It is installed on my own house that my family lives in. So I am a believer in this product. Based on everything, all in, it is certainly an A-grade product from what I've seen. All right, this one is gonna be controversial, but this is Malarkey Legacy, and I'm gonna give it a C+ grade. And I do wanna explain this one because it's just a little bit more complicated. So I used Malarkey Legacy for a period of time in my career. I did a couple hundred of these roofs, and it is SBS modified. And honestly, the hail performance was very good. I was very confident installing it. I saw that it held up, and my customers' roofs survived hailstorms. I was genuinely impressed with the product. But then came a little wave of material defect warranty claims. There was granular loss, some pitting of the shingles, a little bit of weird delamination. So I contacted Malarkey's warranty department, expecting a straightforward process, again, because I was so impressed by the shingles themselves. In my experience, they refused to honor what I considered just basic warranty commitments. And that was on multiple occasions. It wasn't just one experience. So I no longer install Malarkey products. I wanna be clear, I don't have a vendetta against this manufacturer, this product. I just prefer not to do business with companies that I feel like break their promises. So the C+ rating is because, yes, the hail performance is definitely real, but what drags that down is I just don't wanna stake my reputation on a manufacturer that I can't trust to back up their product in the event that we have a defective issue. All right, so why GAF, right? So let me be clear about something. I don't recommend GF because I am a GAF contractor, right? And a lot of contractors install, basically whatever their distributor kind of pushes the hardest. And that's not how I make product decisions. I wasn't always a GAF contractor. In fact, I used to compete against them every day. I recommend GF ArmorShield 2 because I've dealt with warranty claims from multiple manufacturers, and GAF is the only one that has consistently handled them the way a warranty should work. They do it quickly, fairly, and without actually fighting me on behalf of my customer. I think that matters, okay? A warranty is only as good as the company behind it. But to toot my own horn, when installed by a GF Master Elite contractor, which WestPro is, the warranty coverage is stronger than what you would get from a standard certified installer, okay? That's not just generic marketing, that's how GF's warranty program is structured. And we utilize that. We've utilized it successfully and fairly and appropriately in all sorts of different cases when we needed to. So here's a real Colorado case study. It's the 2023 hail season and Class 4 shingles in Colorado. Let's talk about how they perform. So So I want to talk to you about the 2023 hail season because I think it's kind of the clearest real world evidence that I have for everything that I just said. In 2023, a big series of severe hailstorms, they moved through our immediate market. So they affected thousands of homes and buildings in Longmont, Erie, Frederick, and Firestone, right in our backyard. And the hail was measuring 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter. And it was hard, well-formed hailstones, the kind where there's kind of no question, that the roofs, are gonna take a hit. And we were extremely busy, obviously, which you'd expect, but what made this particular storm season so valuable to me professionally was what happened with our previous customers. So, over the years leading up to this, we'd installed hundreds of roofs, in those same neighborhoods and in those same areas. And most of them were Class 4 shingles. So, and most of them GAF ArmorShield. So when the storms came through, those customers, they immediately called us. They wanted inspections and they wanted to know how their roof had held up. So we ended up doing a little over 400 roof inspections in the most affected areas. So this is, kind of the primary storm path of that big hailstorm. And here's what we found. Virtually every standard shingle roof that we inspected, that required replacement, and that included the ones that we had done. Everyone that were in that primary storm path. The standard architectural shingles, the basic roofs, and even the newer ones, they were just like no match for 1.5 to 2 inch hail, at that storm velocity. And so those homeowners, they had to file claims and they had to get new roofs. Of the ArmorShield 2 Class 4 roofs that we had installed in that same storm path, about 40%, they did require replacement. And I wanna say that clearly, 40%, okay? So Class 4 does not mean hail-proof. When the hail is large enough and hard enough and wind-driven enough, it can damage any roof. So obviously, and I don't blame them, those customers were disappointed. I completely understand that. They had upgraded expecting better protection. And for 40% of them, the storm was severe enough, to just overcome, the product. That's a real outcome, right? And I don't want to minimize that. But here's the other number. The other 60% of homes in those same neighborhoods of the most severe hail on the same streets, taking that same hail damage, they did not require replacement, right? Their neighbors, all of their neighbors needed new roofs, but they didn't. And some of them called just to say thank you. A few of them even mentioned that they could see the insurance claim trucks, and the adjusters at three or four of the neighbors' houses in their cul-de-sac. And they were that fourth house, no claim. They didn't have to pay a deductible, didn't have to deal with roofers, no construction disruption. And that's out of 400 inspections, and that's real numbers, real outcomes. I don't want to present it as a sales pitch. That's what we experienced. So yes, I have my opinions about Class 4 shingles and specifically about SBS-modified products like ArmorShield 2. And I think you would too if you've been standing on those same roofs. When Class 4 shingles are not worth it. Okay, so before I give you my final recommendation, I want to talk about the situations where the Class 4 upgrade genuinely doesn't make sense. Because there are some. First one might be you're selling your home and you're replacing the roof right before the sale because the roof is in bad shape and you want to list the house with a new roof. Now, if you're in Fort Collins, Lafayette, Loveland, or even unincorporated Boulder County, right, this doesn't apply to you. You have to do Class 4 anyway because it's required by code. So the buyer is going to, probably want to see a building permit and see that it passed inspection, and it won't pass inspection in those cities without being Class 4. So just do it right if you're in those markets. But if you're in Denver, if you're in Longmont, city of Boulder, let's say somewhere where Class 4 isn't specifically required by code, in my experience, the upgrade cost doesn't necessarily translate well to the resale value. I wish it did. In my experience, it doesn't. Buyers and their real estate agents care that the roof is new and it has a good transferable warranty. The specific shingle tier and whether it's Class 4 or not, it just matters less to most of them. Like I said, I wish it did. I'm a roofing contractor who cares a lot about these details of a roof, but I've also seen enough transactions, real estate transactions, to know that the Class 4 premium doesn't necessarily tend to come back to you at real estate closing, unless you've got like a particularly detail-oriented, home buyer. Second category is you just might be on a really tight budget and the most basic roof is barely affordable. I don't recommend that anyone delay a roof replacement that really needs to happen, while they try to save up for a Class 4 upgrade. I can relate to this. When I was a new homeowner, this was me as well. And if I had to choose between, a Class 4 upgrade and, covering my basic expenses and buying groceries, I'd buy the groceries. So a standard architectural shingle is a good warranted product. Get the roof done. The upgrade can wait for next time when you're ready to do it. All right, the third category, this one's becoming super rare, but it still does exist, is you have a very low wind and hail deductible. I've worked with homeowners who genuinely say, hey, why would I want a hail resistant roof? Every 4 or 5 years, I get a hailstorm, I pay a $500 deductible, and I get a brand new roof. That's a good deal for me. And you might be thinking like, who are these people that just want to get a new roof every 4 years? Trust me, I've met them, they exist, I've worked for them. And honestly though, if your deductible is still $500, then the financial math on the Class 4 upgrade is just harder to justify because you can just keep paying that $500. That said, those deductibles are going away, right, very quickly in Colorado. And I wouldn't count on that model holding for much longer. But those homeowners probably aren't actually watching this video anyway, for being honest. For everyone else on the Colorado Front Range, Class 4 shingles should be strongly considered. Here's my recommendation, and I'm going to be super direct about it. For most Colorado homeowners who are replacing their roof, install Class 4 impact-resistant shingles and make sure it's an SBS-modified shingle product. The upgrade cost of about $2,300 to $3,100 on an average home. That's one avoided hail claim, and it pays for that, okay? That's one deductible that you don't have to write a check for. That's the math. It's pretty simple math. The only situations where I'd say standard shingles make more sense is if you're selling the home in the next 12 to 18 months and you won't be around to sort of capture the insurance savings or save on that deductible, or your budget is genuinely the hard constraint and every dollar counts and you just need to get the roof done. Standard shingles good, warranty product. It's just not built for Colorado's hail climate the way Class 4 is. For everyone else, if you are staying in your home and you've already been through one hail claim since you've owned it, and if you live in Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, Longmont, really anywhere on the Front Range that sees regular hail, and that's basically the whole Front Range, this upgrade makes sense. It's what I would recommend putting on your house. It's what's on mine. Class 4 shingles aren't just a fancy upgrade for Colorado homes. They're the right shingle for Colorado's climate. And in a growing number of cities, they're the only shingle that the building department will actually permit and allow. So Class 4 shingles are one of the most important upgrade decisions in Colorado roof replacement and one of the most misunderstood. Here's a couple of frequently asked questions about Class 4 shingles in Colorado. What is the best Class 4 shingle for Colorado? GF ArmorShield 2. It's SBS modified, has proven field performance across the Front Range, and the best warranty process I've dealt with across multiple shingle manufacturers. It's not just because I'm a GAF contractor. I happen to become a GF contractor because I was impressed with the product. It's because I've been through the warranty process with Malarkey, Owens Corning, and CertainTeed, okay? And GF is the only one that performed the way that a warranty should. It's what's on my own house. Are Class 4 shingles required in Denver? No, not currently. Strongly recommended, certainly, but Denver gets hit just about every year by hail, but the code doesn't require it right now. So that can certainly change. It often does after a major storm season. Always verify with your local building department before you sign anything. What's the difference between SBS modified and standard Class 4 shingles? The difference is the way the manufacturer actually achieves the rating. Woven mat products add a fiberglass layer to the back of the shingle to pass that Class 4 test. SBS modified products blend synthetic rubber into the asphalt itself, making that shingle more flexible and more resistant to impact at those overlap points and throughout the entire shingle. In real Colorado hail conditions, that difference, in our experience, is quite meaningful. Does Class 4 mean hail proof? No. I want to be really clear about that, okay? Very large hail or hail that's driven really fast by wind, it can damage any roof still. What Class 4 SBS modified shingles do is they just raise that threshold significantly. And based on our experience in the 2023 hailstorm and all the inspections we did in Longmont and Erie and Frederick and Firestone, in that really severe hail area, 60% of the ArmorShield 2 roofs in that primary storm path, they survived without needing any repair at all, and certainly not replacement. Now, virtually zero standard shingle roofs did. Now, so that's not hail proof, but it is a meaningful difference. Is Class 4 upgrade worth it if my city doesn't even require it? So for most people, yes. The upgrade cost is $2,300 to $3,100 if we apply that to kind of an average Colorado home. And so one avoided hail deductible, which is a deductible you don't have to pay, which are commonly $3,000 to $5,000 in Colorado, saving that deductible covers the upgrade cost. So if you're staying in your home and you live anywhere on the Front Range, I think it's worth it. I'm Patrick with WestPro Home Exteriors in Longmont, Colorado. The full Class 4 shingle guide, including the city-by-city code requirements and my complete roofing product grades, and the full pricing breakdown. It's on our website, and there's a link in the description of this video. Thank you guys for watching.